Welcome back, everyone. We are here with another episode of Indie Reads Aloud. This is season 3 of our podcast. We've been having a lot of fun bringing new authors and new books to you twice a week. Today, Joan Ramirez is joining us all the way from New York City, and she is going to read a new children's book for us. Joan holds a Master of Science in Business, Medical, and Technical Journalism, as well as 2 others in ESL and Education. She has published on a variety of topics, from cochlear implants to the economy, and has conducted workshops, domestic and foreign, on the nuances of business communications for managers and startup companies. She is the leader of her own enterprise with training programs for entrepreneurs at all levels, and recently published 2 books. The one she'll read for us today, Jamie is Autistic, Learning in a Special Way, and Go For It Leadership Handbook for all students. The book she'll be reading for us today has also been translated into Spanish. Welcome back on the program, Joan. It's great to have you back in the room.
Nice to be here.
I'm really interested to hear about how you got the idea to write for an autistic audience. We have another great friend of the podcast, Lisa Jakowski. She's in New Jersey, and she works with autistic children, and all of her children's books are aimed at that spectrum of children. Where did you get the idea to do this?
I teach autistic children. That's one division. A lot of the autistic, children that I teach have English as a second language issues. And one little munchkin, first grade, came up to me one day and said, "I want you to write a book about us."
Nice.
And that's how the whole thing started.
That's fantastic. I love it when children ask for what they need so that we can make sure what they get. You know, I think that's a wonderful thing when children feel safe enough to have, to hold that space with us. I think that's a great thing. So Jamie is Autistic, Learning in a Special Way is the story of one girl's struggles as an autistic learner. Through the support of parents, teachers, and a school counselor, she is able to learn and make friends. Exercises to help autistic learners are included in the back of the book. While this was written for autistic students, it also shows children the importance of acceptance of others and learning in different ways. I love how you make this concept accessible to everybody. And as I was telling Lisa Jakowski when she was on the program, I love when we can create work for children that also makes difficulties in communication easier for adults.
Well, that's the idea too. The book is a very good guide because in the back, it does have it has about the author, but it also has a practice sheet that they can try with their partner.
That's fantastic.
It's interactive, and it also, the main thing I want always is for the children to feel that they have a vested interest.
Absolutely. It's important to give children a voice when sometimes maybe they don't feel like they can be heard. I absolutely agree with you. I am really excited to hear a bit from this book. When you are ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
Okay. When Jamie Madison started kindergarten, her mom noticed that she was very shy around the other kids. She thought it was because Jamie missed their daily routine of fixing breakfast for Daddy, walking Robbie, the family colleague, and helping Mrs. Madison in the garden. Jamie liked routine. She liked doing the same thing each day. When Jamie started first grade, her teacher, Mrs. Smith, told Mrs. Madison that Jamie sat by herself most of the day. Even though her classmates asked her to join them on the playground, Jamie continued to read on her rug in a corner, all alone. When one of her classmates told her Jamie she liked her blouse, Jamie didn't say thank you. Feeling hurt, the girl said she would not play with her again. Another time, when Jamie was asked to read her morning journal, she kept her head down. Mrs. Smith had to read for her. Mrs. Madison was worried that maybe one of the children said something to upset Jamie. Mrs. Smith told her that Jamie was polite but didn't seem interested in being with other kids or joining in group projects. In fact, math was the only subject that excited Jamie. Mrs. Smith said that she was able to add and subtract faster than anyone else in the class. While others found counting to 50 difficult, Jamie went all the way to 100. Yay, Jamie! A few weeks after school started, Mrs. Smith sent a note home that Jamie did not like changes in routine. Afraid of her new surroundings on a class trip, Jamie stayed close to Mrs. Smith all the way to the zoo and back. She cried when one of her classmates reached for her hand. The next day, when the class was asked to draw their favorite animal, one of the kids accidentally spilt milk on Jamie's desk, causing a pencil to roll on the floor. Jamie had other pencils, but told Mrs. Smith that she could not draw because her pencils were out of order. Mrs. Madison took Jamie to the school counselor, who asked her questions and wrote a lot of notes on a pad. Jamie asked the lady, "Am I a bad girl because I don't read as fast as the other kids?" "Of course not, Jamie," the counselor replied. "We just want to make sure that you learn a lot in school in a way that makes you feel good." "Oh, okay," Jamie said. The counselor gave Jamie a book called Kids and Autism and invited Mrs. Smith to read along with her and Mrs. Madison. Jamie pointed to a picture of a boy waiting on a lunch line in the cafeteria. He kept cutting the line to move to the front, rubbing his stomach as he went along. When he sat down with his tray, he didn't eat very much. The kids were angry because they said he shouldn't have pushed ahead. He seemed more interested in grouping his food by colors than eating it. Sometimes I do that too. Jamie turned the page of the autism book. She stared at a girl who didn't want to share her crayons and started to cry when a classmate grabbed some out of her box. "See, Mrs. Smith, she likes to keep her things to herself too." The counselor explained that sometimes other kids do things that aren't nice, but when that happens, we have to stay calm and learn to share, especially if there aren't enough supplies for everyone. Jamie pointed to another picture of a kid taking a nap in the nurse's office. "I get tired too, and sometimes I have to put my head down." "I know," Mrs. Smith said. "It just seems that you're giving your brain a rest so it will be ready to receive more information. However, in the future, maybe you could go to sleep a bit earlier at night so you'll have more energy in class." "Okay, I'll try," Jamie replied. "It's a good thing that you like to know where you are and what's coming next, but you have to be open to change, which can also be fun," Mrs. Smith said. Jamie nodded. "I don't like surprises." "That's not true," Mrs. Madison replied. "Your birthday party was a surprise." "Yes, but you asked me who I wanted to invite," Jamie said. "True, but Daddy and I didn't tell you what we bought you for a gift," Mrs. Madison said. Jamie gave Mrs. Madison a big hug. "I love you, Mommy, because you make me feel special." "You are special to us as well," the counselor and Mrs. Smith replied. "We're here to make sure that you enjoy school, learn, and make friends." Jamie pressed the autism book to her chest. "Tomorrow, I'm going to help Jenny when we go to art class. She's new in school and doesn't know her way around." Mrs. Madison winked at Jamie. "Good idea. Remember, autism describes a person who learns in a different way, but one who can grow and change." Jamie gave her the thumbs up signal and turned to Mrs. Smith. "Okay, autism means that I learn in a special way." Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Madison, and the counselor clapped. Hooray for Jamie. And I have a practice sheet here where with a partner, you can try these different situations. They'll help you to enjoy learning with your classmates, social situations. "Can I sit with you? Can you eat lunch with me? I hope you have a happy birthday." This gets the student involved in socializing with her classmates. "Greetings. Hello, my name is, what's yours? Play. Would you like to play a game with me?" Making requests. "Can you help me with this math problem? Can I go to the bathroom before we start class? How long do we have to wait online to get our lunch?" So these are all things that are important and help children socialize. And that is the book.
Awesome. Can you hold up the cover for us again? so people watching on YouTube can see it. There it is. Jamie is autistic, learning in a special way. That's fantastic. It does sound like a really great resource, I think, for young children who maybe come in contact with someone who is on the spectrum for the first time, rather than for children discovering they have autism, maybe for their siblings or for their friends. It works as a great introduction.
It's very important that they feel included.
Absolutely.
In my day, they were put in a separate group and they were treated like they had some sort of disease. And it was terrible because the counselors weren't as informed as they are today.
Absolutely. And I think having that information on all different kinds of learning abilities, I think is really critical. So I applaud you for doing this book. It's a great idea.
It's important. I like my students, but they have to like learning and they have to get along with each other. And when
Sure.
they go home and they leave the classroom, they have to feel comfortable coming back the next day.
Absolutely.
And this book has helped. And also, as I said, the exercises, because when I went to school, we didn't have a lot of this. We didn't do a lot of this.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's
So I have a question for you. What was it that made you choose Spanish as the language to translate it into rather than some other French or German or Indian? I mean, what was it that made you choose Spanish?
I have a lot of Spanish students in my classes,
Okay.
and they have ESL, English as a second language problems. They're really cute.
Yeah.
And they want so badly to just fit in. That's okay, but I want them to know that it's okay as they are. Because
Absolutely.
if fitting in means that they have to give up their identity and they're struggling, I want them to learn English, but I want them to feel comfortable learning the way that's good for them.
Well,
Because
and it reinforces the message of the book, right? If you present it in another language, it reinforces the idea that you just do things differently.
and also for teachers, you've got
Sure.
a teacher who's got a student who doesn't speak much English. With this book, it's good because not only you have pictures, but you have a guideline and in the back, and it's taught in a user-friendly way
Absolutely.
where
I'm
children don't cry
yeah.
like Jamie did.
Yeah, I think you've done a marvelous job with this book, and I really appreciate you coming on the program again to share it with us.
Thank you.
Have an awesome day.
Thank you.